A very warm welcome to the second episode of this season with a very, very exciting guest, Patrice Gordon. In the spirit of gratitude, because we're wrapping up the month of November, I am so thankful to have you on the show. And I must admit to our viewers that from the moment that we met, I knew immediately that there was something that was very intriguing for me, something that made me want to be in your universe, to follow you, to know what you're doing, to get the chance to interview you. So thank you so much. You are an inspiration to many,
Thank you for
myself
having me.
included. And for our listeners and viewers, Patrice is an executive coach, personal development advocate, expert on women's development programming and reverse mentoring. She's recognized publicly by Sir Richard Branson. I love that.
Mhm.
And you are a former executive at Virgin Atlantic, Royal Mail, British Airways, and founder of Eminia, strategic consultancy built with a mission to empower and elevate. So, warm welcome, Patrice.
Thank you so well. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, wonderful to have you on the show. And as I said, we are working a little bit with the theme of gratitude today, not just because of the day, the month. We're approaching Christmas, and this is going to be released just as we're heading into the holiday season. But I wanted to start with a question of how did we get here? And I know how you and I get here
Okay.
because we met at an event. And this is probably an important point for our listeners because I often get the question, how did I meet my guest? Well, I don't use somebody who's sending loads of emails to connect with people. I used a common introduction. In fact, one of our former guests on the show, Katie George, introduced us, and I'm so grateful to her for that as well.
But it started before then, though. Can I interrupt?
Yes,
Because she
please.
did introduce us, but actually we met face to face. That was actually what happened, right?
Yes, we met at an event. Yeah, with one of her events.
Yeah, one of her. So I would then preface that in terms of when we meet people, it's often really beautiful when we meet them when we've got a shared love or something, and then that naturally moved into something else. So it was a self-love, self-care morning that we
A
attended.
very cold one. I remember
It
you
was
were looking
free.
for
I was
blankets.
so cold. But it was a beautiful environment that Katie had set up for us. And we had dedicated, it was an afternoon for us to just pour into ourselves. And it was at that point that we connected. And then Katie messaged and said, she really wants to connect with you. And I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I was a fan.
No, I was like, of
I was a
course.
fan.
Yeah, of course. So I think it's that mutual love. But one of the things that I'm really into is love of self. That's like the first love. We can get to that later. But yeah, sorry, I just had to interrupt for that
No,
bit.
please do. I love that, and I think our viewers will enjoy that a lot because this is genuinely how connections work, and I think that's true of business just as anything else. And this actually brings something to mind. I was looking at your page the other night, and you said 90% of your business comes from referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How is that intentional, or actually maybe if we can dial back, how does one, get the courage to step off the corporate ladder and find a business? I love that you're laughing every time I ask somebody that question. They're like, "Oh, if only I had known, I probably wouldn't have done it."
No, yeah, if only I'd known, probably wouldn't have done it. If the Most High had said to me, "This is how it's going to roll," I would have been like, "I'm not really sure about this." So how does one start? I'll just give you a little bit backstory, very quick cliff notes. So I'm actually a chartered accountant. I worked with British Airways, Royal Mail, and PwC. That's where I trained, and then I went to Virgin Atlantic. So bread and butter in finance, in commercial finance, and then I switched to commercial in 2018. 8 years ago, I trained as an executive coach, and I really wanted to partner my really strong financial skill set with the softer side. So I was a manager at 25. I was finance director by the time I was 30. And when I got there, I was just really intrigued as to like, what's next? I'm a very what's next person. It's part of why I was at Katie's morning, because I'm trying to sit in the moment and appreciate the moment. But at that point, when you're 30, you've already achieved all these amazing things. You do think, what's next? Like, you look around the table and you think, what is my future going to look like? And at that point, I thought, I don't necessarily want to be CFO, but what I do want to do is lead incredible teams. I want to be an incredible leader. And that's when I retrained as an exec coach. I joined Virgin Atlantic. I took a step back in my career intentionally because I wanted to build this business in the background.
So what was the step back?
I was finance director at a FTSE listed business, 110,000 people, to head of commercial finance at a 10,000 person organization with a significantly less revenue. So when you look at scale and impact, and obviously my salary reduced accordingly too. But what I was pursuing then was purpose, and finding myself and really thinking about the impact that I wanted to make in the world. And so when you run your own business, as you know, our definitions of success are very different now. Which is, how much time do I have? Because time is the real thing, right? Time is the gift. Time is the real asset. It's not the money, it's the time. What does the money bring you? More time, right? Time is the thing that
time is the luxury.
Time is the luxury. Time is the thing that we're all chasing. And so for me, taking a step back and joining Virgin, doing something that I was really good at, but also giving me the time to study and do my coaching qualification, as well as to just enjoy life a little bit more, because it was very, very high stress.
So
high pace.
I wouldn't say it was a step back. I think it was a very thoughtful, deliberate step. I always like it's the little slowdown before accelerating.
Absolutely. But to those who are awakened, that is correct. To those who are not, that would be what people would describe it as.
This is step back. Well, maybe I'm pretty sure nobody who's watching this is not awakened.
No, but we say we live life forwards, but we understand it backwards. So it was a definite strategy to that point. This point wasn't necessarily so. So we got to the point where I did lots of stuff in terms of inclusion within the organization on top of my day job. And then Richard Branson gave me a shout out for the work that I had done, which led to a TED Talk, which then led to the book, which led to someone offering to write a book, offering me representation as a book agent to say, actually, this would make a great book. You need to write a book proposal and do some research. Like, would you be up for it? I was like, yeah, okay, fine. Which then led to me writing the book, researching for the book, building up my consultancy part-time and working part-time, all in the middle of the pandemic in 2020 to 2021. The book finished. And then I had to make a decision. Do I explore what this wonderful new world of being an author would look like? Or do I continue in my job, which I was really good at and I really did enjoy? And obviously, I'm an executive coach, and a lot of the work that I do with my people is really understanding why there is a fear of the unknown and really stepping into the unknown. And I really try to take my own medicine. And at that point, and I obviously have I have two coaches now. I had one coach then, and we had designed what parameters we would evaluate. And when we got there, I had to then look in the mirror and say, right, we've got there now. And I was challenged, like, you've got to the point that you wanted to get to. Are you willing to step out into the unknown and bet on yourself? And clearly I did. So yeah.
I think it's always a little bit of that imposter syndrome where we're saying, well, how can I be teaching others to do that if I haven't done it myself? But I've taken a slightly different view, and I'm saying, well, can you not have the best of both worlds? And I think part of the beauty of having this podcast and interviewing so many women over the years has been just showing that there isn't one right or wrong way. And I wonder how you see it now from the perspective I've been on the inside, I've been on the outside, I've also made change in a different way. There are people like me who perhaps still are holding on to two roles and that suits them. Others who just probably shouldn't be doing that because that's not for them. And I wonder how, from your experience, whether there were any, I mean, there's always pros and cons, but whether there's any, the way you have impact now is different. Is there anything that you miss from being inside an organization?
So I've literally come from a session where, so I guess taking a step back, looking at the business and how it's grown. So year 1, good. Year 2, incredible. We were on track. I was so excited. This year has been the toughest year of the business so far. So everyone always says, Patrice, like, you wouldn't be able to tell because like your socials are amazing. Yes, we all know socials are amazing, but behind the scenes, building a business and doing it, being an entrepreneur and driving every single day is really difficult and challenging. And I cut my teeth within corporate where there is a set of rules. You follow those rules and you will excel, which I was very good at. I'm very good at rules-based things because you show me the rules and I'll excel at them. Entrepreneurial life is not like that. And I think year 1 was like halo effect. Year 2 was like, okay, we're in the rhythm and we've still got that energy. Year 3, given everything that's happening in the world, and in order for the work that I do to be impactful, what I really need is leadership, time and attention. Genuine leadership, time and attention. And so in all organizations everywhere, leadership, time and attention is very fragmented at the moment. And are just some higher world order geopolitics that are going on, which is really making it challenging for me to have that attention. So not that people aren't interested, but the capacity to be able to deliver the programs in the way that we need to deliver them to drive real change has been really challenging. In addition to like the bottom line impact and us working through, I've done some incredible programs with HSBC, Accenture and Henley Business School for me to really look at my business model to say, this is not just a nice to have, this has real bottom line impact. And actually, if you're able to just step out of the immediacy of now and being reactive, we can help you be proactive and manage and stem how you lead a workforce of the future in the best way. That's the preface, because actually this year's been so tough. And so I've been looking in my toolkit, in my box, and I've been thinking, right, okay, what are we going to do, Patrice? I definitely don't want to be the person that drinks my own sauce. So I have a couple of coaches and people around me and an extensive network where I am very open to challenge and feedback, which means actually if we think that this might not be what the world needs right now, do we take a pause on it and do we focus on something else? Not giving up, but acknowledging that the product is exceptional, the feedback is exceptional, but the environment in which it needs to operate may just not be ready for it right now. So that's personally what we've been going through this year in building that resilience, but also stress testing and having those conversations. So to answer your question, I've actually been looking in that toolkit to think, right, actually, what parts was I really good at? Like, I'm really exceptional at commercial finance. I'm really exceptional at commercial partnerships. In this space right now, in the world that we sit in, those are skill sets that people really want and desire. So is there a hybrid? So actually, I'm looking at the other side, which is how do I use my skills and talents in a way which allows me to kind of like slightly step back in? So like fractionally step back in, but actually as my whole keeping the business running and responding to demand in that way. So for context, our timelines and our pipeline can be like the shortest pipeline we've ever had is 4 months. The longest is 18 months. Mm-hmm. So that is great. And we've got a machine that is working now. We've got like cold outreach. We've got lots of things happening, but I can't guarantee when those things are going to hit. And because this is a leadership time that I really need, it has to come at the perfect time. And I'm not an amazing saleswoman. I sell people things that they need, and I'm able to articulate it in that way. And so when people come to me, I'm grateful and very fortunate that I don't pitch for work. That I'm synonymous with reverse mentoring. And when that comes up in a conversation, the first person they think of is me, which is wonderful. But we need it to come up in conversation first.
And reverse selling, by the sounds of it, is in people come to you. And you say that takes us back to the beginning of conversation. Right, exactly. A lot of it comes from referrals, which is interesting. And I was wondering if that was intentional, because I come from the other side. I work in sales all my life. And I thought, well, actually, one is not at the expense of other. I can still be those two things at the same time. Yeah. So it almost sounds to me like something's leading you towards going a little bit back to that, the accountant, the finance expert,
commercial,
who was trained. Yeah. But I even looked at your degree. I think you did psychology.
Yeah, psychology.
So there was always those two hats.
Had this duality. Yeah.
So what's, maybe that's some kind of way that universe, fate, whatever you want to call it, is showing you back.
But I think it's something around, right? The duality. Mm-hmm. And we are more than one thing. And I think I've really tried to get out my accounting box. I've tried to get out my corporate box. And I'm really sat, and I think that was our conversation that we had previously, right? Just sitting in the middle. And I describe myself as a multi-potentialite, right? Which is you have multiple interests, and those multiple interests leads you to join the dots and excel at those things individually more so because you've just got a wider sphere and viewpoint of things. So whereas before I was like, you do this, then you do this, then you do this, I'm actually just so much more comfortable now in like that being that through and through, and being able to dial up and dial down the things that I need when I need them.
Yeah, and you did make me think a little bit about when you said, well, I sell things that people need. And I remember from a teacher who uses the energetic metaphor to talk about business, that there's only two ways you can go. You can only expand or you can shrink. So if people try to stay in the same place for too long, they find that things usually have to not fall apart, but change and almost stop working, so that you kind of force, okay, what's the next thing? And that's way like a little spiral. You keep going up rather than, because we're not linear. You can either go up or
you can go down. And if you're stuck, you're going down, aren't you?
A little bit. So it sounds like you're going up. So as I say,
I'm
I don't know
definitely going up.
what's happening around the corner, but it sounds like it's something very exciting because you'll probably have to reinvent the business, the people that you pitch, and maybe, as you said, because of external factors, take those into consideration. But it doesn't sound to me like you're still going to change the core of the product.
No. Yeah, it's been really refreshing from like a HSBC, Henley, Accenture point of view. Like they all see it, they all see the potential in it, and it's a market thing. So it's like actually what? So I have a few other tools in my toolkit that we use, but actually as the central point, we've all agreed that my USP is reverse mentoring. So as the world leading expert in that, that's the thing that we anchor in on and we talk about. And then it's like, Patrice is this, this, and this. But if I start with Patrice is this, this, and this, people switch off straight away. So we have to start with the big thing, which is Patrice is this. And if you're interested, you can do this.
Yes, that's definitely the first thing that comes up. I can confirm whenever
when you Google.
And I love that you say the words, because it's true. You are. And I always encourage people and clients to say, you are. Who's going to argue? How are they going to prove that you're not?
The thing is, I always used to say to my friends, like, what is an expert? What is an expert anyway? And I say that flippantly because in this world that we're in, that like showing my age, but when I was doing my like GCSEs and A levels, there wasn't really active internet. It was still AOL dial-up. And so it wasn't a case, like I still had like a Britannia encyclopedia, right? So it's, you don't have that direct access to things. And so I say being an expert now, you literally you could spend 5 minutes every day on something and be better than your average at it because you spend those 5 minutes. That's not how I wrote the book, by the way. This book is based on like thousands and thousands of hours of research. But the reason that I say that I'm the world leading expert is because, and please test this using all of your LLM models, but if you put this into who is the world leading expert in reverse mentoring, Chat, Claude, Gemini will all say me. And so that's why I've claimed the title.
Yeah. And I love it because ultimately, if you don't believe that you are good at what you do and you don't say it, and I think as women, we are so conditioned sometimes to not be seen as too pushy or to be seen as pushy or claim, that you don't have to prove it. You don't even have to explain it to people. If someone doesn't like it or doesn't agree, they can go and argue with ChatGPT if they want.
Right, there we go.
But I want to take a step back because I think that's many, and we were talking behind the scenes earlier. You said there's a book in everyone.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there are people who are listening and thinking about maybe wanting to write or sharing. And how did that happen to you? It sounded like you were approached. So it wasn't one of those things that were planned, but just so that people can actually understand how does it happen to have a book? And then also when we get to it, how does one get a TED Talk as well?
Right,
that's the other, I think that's on many people's dream list.
Yeah, so I'm really sorry to disappoint everyone, but every time people put in time, like, can we please, I haven't got the answer for that because I was approached by both. So real transparency. So for the TED Talk, let's start with that. For the TED Talk, I was approached by the TED team to do a TED Talk at home in the middle of the pandemic. And that doesn't happen often. For someone who had a very limited, I think I probably had about 5,000 people follow me on LinkedIn at that point, a zero Instagram presence. But they were so intrigued by the concept and the fact that Richard Branson was advocating for it that they pursued and asked me to participate in it. So that's not your typical way. The second TED Talk I did, I knew the organizer and then I had to write a pitch for it. It was TEDx Shoreditch and it was a women's edition and that was in November 2023. And again, that was a submission and then part of the overall panel. So there are TEDs everywhere, and it's really around you finding the organizer and the theme, because usually the TEDs have a theme. So just making sure you're aware of all the different themes and be willing to travel far and wide in order to participate in them.
Yeah.
But the book, when people ask me, I'm like, okay, 'cause everyone has a book in them. And the way that I advise to do it is you need to do a book proposal. So what is the book and why do you want to write it is important because that's really personal. All these words that come from our heart. But who is the audience? Who are the people that you would associate in this field, like other authors that would write something similar to you? So what genre are you going after? Mine was a business book, so it's pretty straightforward, business and management. And it was a how-to guide. Based on my experience, but other people's experience. So it's quite easy to pitch. What associated publications could it be in? And how many words do you think it could be? And then you'd write a sample chapter. So they ask you to write, most of the time, a sample chapter to put into the proposal. And it can be like your best chapter, like you could have written it already and you just give them your what you think is your best chapter, or it could be an introductory chapter. My chapter, I don't even know whether it would still make it. My chapter was about why reverse mentoring matters right now. And it was in the midst of the pandemic, and we were really trying to rebase. People were quietly quitting, like people were, really unhappy. We were questioning ourselves and our existence at the biggest collective point we ever have in our history, because we all had the time to do that. And so I wrote that proposal, sent it through. He then, my book agent then went around, gave me some feedback on it. Not too much. And then he pitched it to publishers for me. And so he took a cut of the deal, obviously. And I got an advance, and then I got on with writing a book.
There you go. But in a way, you, as we like to say in energetic speak, you attracted those opportunities.
Course, yeah, I did. I'm attracting my next book as well. Does anyone else, if anyone wants to come and help me with that, then please.
But I love something that you said earlier about socials and having, I don't know how many people on socials, and people assuming that is the proof of success. And I think that's a double-edged sword, because number one, sometimes we place too much importance on that and almost feel worthless if we don't have 1 million followers and compare ourselves with others.
Trying to get there.
And then many people forget that actually just that on its own doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't translate into money, does it?
No, absolutely not. I've got 10,000. I'm trying to convert everything into money. It's not. What I have learned is it's about community, and it's about connection. It's about having that message, but you using the way that you personally as an individual convey and share that message. Because for me, you can't convey and share a message under like a bushel, right? You have to be biblical, like you have to be open with it, and you have to share it in your unique way. So I'll give an example. Iris Bonet, she is a lecturer at Harvard, so I'm part of Harvard's Women's Leadership Board. She's written a number of books. She's a prolific writer, researcher. She's not on LinkedIn and she's not on Instagram. Her co-writer for her books is on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and is very, very active on social. She is not. I've tried to no, she just won't do it. But does that make her message any less? No. She does webinars. She obviously has books. She has face-to-face. She's still very high in demand because her product and what she stands for is very strong. So I think it's about honing your craft, knowing who you are, and you building your community in the right way.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about actually enjoying it. If it's something that you enjoy, and you can tell that I enjoy being on camera, obviously. But if you're somebody who really doesn't feel that's their thing, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, but find your thing.
Stop putting conditions on, I have to have this, I have to have that to make it happen. And that's why I like these stories, because I think there are many things that probably worked out in your favor against all odds. And I love sharing those because that's the inspiration for everybody else. Well, I've also realized that we've been talking for about 20 minutes, but not really touched on what is reverse mentoring.
Okay, right.
Might not know. And we have the world leading expert on reverse mentoring, ladies and gentlemen. So you have to tell us please tell us, because it was interesting to me. And I think I kind of get the idea. Yeah. But I have watched the TED Talk.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sure you can tell us, also probably reminiscing on the anniversary of those TED Talks, which I think was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So this is a real anniversary week for me. So the anniversary of the TED Talk, which was the 23rd of November 2020. The anniversary of the book, which was the 1st of November 2022. And the anniversary of the second TED Talk, which was in November 2023. So reverse mentoring, what is it? It is the concept of a senior leader being mentored by someone who is underrepresented. And that means they don't have a voice around the senior leadership team table. So this could be age, gender, ethnicity, disabilities, socioeconomic groups, class, etc. And the key here is, I truly believe that if you don't have a wide range of viewpoints around the table, which is reflective of your employee base and it's reflective of the consumers that you serve or wish to serve, you are not going to make the best decisions for your organization. Yeah, because you're seeing it. It's, everybody's agreeing. Like you're all drinking from the same pot. You are not being challenged effectively, likely, because there's groupthink. Because you've got the same environment, you've had the same similar upbringing. You know, you have the same energy. You need people with different energies to drive different decisions and more profitable decisions. So if you're like an all-female team, it would be great to have a male perspective on things. Like it doesn't mean it's like all men versus, everyone says like, is it because there's men around? Yeah, statistically there are more men around senior leadership team tables. That's a fact. It's not it's not an action against men. It is a part of equity, and how do we drive better business decisions, and how do we drive the bottom line. But also, yeah, we want to be sustainable for the future, and that involves making decisions which are better for everybody.
Hmm. And was it easy to roll that out? I think you made some comment in the TED Talk that I really like. Please do not try to force people to get
No,
into
absolutely
it.
not. Yeah, no.
That's never a good idea for anything.
So then I as I was so I participated in the program. I found it transformational. The CEO did as well. But I just had this thing I just couldn't get out of my head. Like, what if leadership was transformed so that, belonging wasn't the exception, but it was the rule? And what would that look like? And so I went and did all of this research on programs. So if you Google reverse mentoring, you will see a number of organizations talking about how they started a program. There's less evidence of people talking about how the program finished and what they actually did as a result of that program.
Mm-hmm.
So part of my desktop research was reaching out to those organizations, reaching out to the individuals that had participated in the program, obviously looking at academic research, but piecing that all together and really trying to find the trends behind why programs succeeded or why they failed. And to be honest, this was before ChatGPT. So if I had the LLMs, it would have been brilliant, because I would have chucked all this information in there and it would have given me the things. But I actually had to do this, like, using my mind and researching and reading, having conversations with people, which is fascinating because majority of them couldn't disclose the organizations or where they'd worked. So it was these beautiful conversations, but these themes kept on coming up. And one of them was, I was one of the few in the organization and I was asked to participate in the program, so I did. Okay. So first of all, red flag. Because if you're asked by a senior leader or a HR person to participate in the program, then it's really going to look, is your one hand, if you say yes, then wonderful. But then actually there's a real deep expectation on you. If you say no, then you also kind of like do not want to help the organization to succeed. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to encourage people to participate. And the way you encourage people is by saying, I think you'd be great for this program, and these are the outcomes and the objectives that we have for it. That's like an encouragement, not we need you to apply for this program. It's a subtle encouragement, because I also think, if you look at it from a recruitment perspective, you will know probably in your experience that when certain leaders want people to apply for the job, they're like, I think you should apply for it, or I would encourage you to apply for it. There's words that you can use, which is, we think that you'd be great for this. We think you should come along, but versus like, apply for this. It's the softness, the nuances in the language of, we really value your opinion. We really value your experience. Please apply for it, because we can't give it to you. Can't force it to you.
But there was something that you said about sameness and how groupthink, or how we, and I think, and I was actually wondering and asking myself that question, is it that we find comfort in sameness, or is it actually are we conditioned to like sameness, or are we just naturally born like this?
So if we take it back to Darwinism, if we take it back to evolution, we feel more comfortable with people who are like us. So it's a similarity bias, but it's natural for us, because we feel less threatened when people are like us. We feel more open. Like, all the studies show, like, if you say that you went to a certain college, or if you say that you live in a certain area, or your kids go to the same school, or you have the same hairdresser, like, there's a thing which says, oh, you're more like me, and if you're more like me, I can trust you more. Like, this is completely human, so I totally get it. And if we look at our personal circles, like, we have people that are around us that we share interests with, because actually that's and the people that are very, very different to us, we spend time with and we enjoy, but we probably wouldn't spend every single day with them, because we have to have a different level of energy when we're around those individuals. And I have a wide group of friends, but I also know, like, there's some people that I need a certain level of energy to be around, because we're going to have some challenging conversations, and it's just not going to be easy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you said that you have a group of trusted friends, almost like and I just had this morning my mastermind group, which is a bunch of ladies that we just got together and we help each other out, and we just, I don't know, and we don't even have topics. We just get together every 2 weeks and
I love that,
and talk about things that are going on in our lives. And of course, we have some sameness within us, even though we all come from different countries, different languages, even different backgrounds and ages. But we all are probably interested in in energetics, business, and generally self-development,
elevation,
growth, elevate with Patrice.
Yes, see, do you like that?
There you go. I like it. It's a brand that sticks. Yes, and I almost encourage everyone to go and find their own mastermind, and you don't have to make it that formal. and perhaps to overthink it, but just having, I think I've actually read Michelle Obama somewhere called it her kitchen table in one of her books or interviews when she was talking about becoming Michelle, and I think I took that on and I said, what do you mean? Of course we all have friends, but then just finding those people who are, it's not even friends. They're not coaches or mentors, but they are people that are there to support you and you support them. And it's a very beautiful, informal concept. So I wonder if you have something similar that helps you in addition to the multiple coaches that you work with.
Yeah. I think it's interesting also with women to find that trusted circle as well. And I think when we talk about elevation, when we talk about, wanting better for ourselves, I think there's a certain energy and a certain group of people that you can have that with. And I have several groups because I've got so many different interests. I haven't quite found the one group where we can do that. And my past group are very corporate. And my current group are mostly entrepreneurs. And so there's not, we can have a call at 3 o'clock or we can have this podcast. And do you know what I mean? Like we have as an entrepreneur, we have a certain amount of flexibility that others don't have. But then it's also reminding of the structure that we come from. So I don't have one group per se, but I have several. And I look at my life in different ways. So I have a spiritual group. So I'm a Christian, and that's the first and foremost and the basis of everything that I do and who I am. I have a group from like a business like perspective to challenge me from that perspective. And then I have a creative group as well. And it's not just women. So I've included men in this as well. So
back to the reverse mentoring. Don't just surround yourselves with an echo chamber.
Yeah. And so I must say in the past few years, I've got a few trusted male allies and supporters in the sphere as well. Because I think, we can drink our own sauce quite a lot. And I think it's about, when we're trying to impact societies and culture, and we need that male perspective, because I will do it I've been working on stepping out of the masculine and into the feminine more and more.
I think we all have. After a couple of years in corporates, we all need to go on a crash course of how to be a woman.
How to be how to sink in that and relish in it and love it and not be it and do it and be it unapologetically. It's not only in corporate. I think it's throughout my life anyway. Since I was 9, I was probably had to carry or felt I needed to carry quite like heavy things. And so the past few years have been my happiest because I've just been working to really let that go and sit in that divine femininity. And what does that mean? But I have incredible people around me that are divinely masculine to help me balance that out as well. So I would say, I have a few groups. I haven't found like the one group yet. And I think just by the nature of who I am, which can sometimes be a bit of a lone wolf, is that I need to be able to retreat and I need to be able to enter in and out as and when. So like really big groups of like particularly women don't fill me with joy. No, being honest, like I as in like
I'm laughing because I'm thinking this is the sameness. We didn't know.
Oh, is this the same as you as well? Okay.
Well, it's not women in particular, it's just big groups of people. And I've talked about this on the previous episode, which was actually my story, how I've always had this two opposite sides. The part of me, and again, I explain it with human design, but you can use whatever framework you want to use. There's a part of me that is very outward facing and going, and that's just kind of coded in me, and I get energy out of being around other people. But then if I don't get the equal number of offsetting days when I just sit on my own and close the door, and even my partner's not allowed to come into the room, I just don't feel good. And it was COVID when I actually discovered this, because we stopped doing things and I was on my own, and I realized how much I love being on my own. To the surprise of myself and everybody else around me.
My close friends know, and my family know, that when I come back from a business trip or if I've had a really busy week, like I need decompression time, we call it. Like time out. Don't call me. If you call me, I won't pick up the phone. Like I just literally need a few days to myself. And when I'm with people, like I love it. But then I also just need the recharge time. So yeah, exactly the same as you.
What charges you up?
Oh my God. Exercise charges me up. I've
seen this on Instagram. I was like, unless she's changing the outfits and filming all the time, she's at the gym a lot.
I'm at the gym a lot, like 4 times a week. I love it. I love the one thing that we are in control of, or that I've discovered, and this has become since COVID. The only thing I was in control of is my mindset and my body. Like those are the 2 things. The world can be crazy, but we can control that. And so the exercise thing really helps me to frame my mind at the start of the day. And I love to eat as well. So that's the second. I love to eat and I don't like to be looking at calories. And so part of that is actually, how do I start my day by knowing that I've like got the deficit in, and then I can just do what I want to do. But also, as we get older, especially as women, we need to focus on like our bone density, being strong and making sure that we look after, like I say, like mind, body and spirit. And so that's what charges me up. I absolutely love sunshine. So this time of year is really tough for me. And I absolutely love and adore spending time with people who like restore my soul. So it's time with friends and family, which is the gift that I've been given now, to spend incredible time with people that I love.
Is that probably the best thing about entrepreneurial life? You said the time and the flexibility, and we talked at the beginning about how time is luxury.
Yeah, absolutely. Just if I'm not feeling it for the day, or if I'm exhausted, or if I'm full of energy, like yesterday I slept for 3 hours and I just woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning and I was buzzing. And ChatGPT and I had an amazing 3-hour strategy session from 3 till 6 yesterday morning. And then my lovely team members got messages like really early in the morning, like, this is what I've been thinking about overnight. They were like, Patrice, we spoke to you at 11. What happened? It's like, oh yeah, got this. And it's just the flexibility to bounce and flow within your own flow is strengths overplayed can become weaknesses. So it's incredible that I can be so flexible and tap into so many different things. I think the other side of that is obviously with an organization, you've got structure, you've got deliverables, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the part that I sometimes play with, because we're in a corporate, you know what the outcome's going to be. You know the end of the year, you can see it's a well-oiled machine. And so as I'm trying to set up the machine, which is what I focused on this year, my biggest challenge has been like staying focused on, right, okay, even though we're not seeing results on this, we still need to make the machine, because the machine is what's going to make it easier in the future, as opposed to the things that give me like the quick dopamine hits, like, oh, let's do like a social media strategy, which is great. And then like do some videos. I could do this all day, every day. I love it. But then after 3 months, I'll be like, okay, what does that mean? And what's happened to the machine? Because I haven't focused on the machine. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a balance. But yeah, I love it.
And this is what I always say, you need a structure. And that's where most businesses fail, especially the creative types who go on a vision. And I was giving the example even with celebrities. I have a video about Victoria Beckham, and you have this beautiful creative energy, but you don't have any structure to hold it together, as you said. And you just go off doing the fun things, but either you outsource the structure holding to someone else and you hire a team to do it, the day-to-day management, or you really need to have it. And again, when I say outsource thoughtfully, not just like, oh, I just want to get rid of it and someone else take care of it. But I see it, this is the way, and now someone else can execute on my behalf. So it sounds like coming from corporate, that wasn't an issue for you, but I'm sure it is for some of your clients.
It is. And I spend like 1 day a month I dedicate to our Soho House and Soho Works community. So I do mentoring and coaching for our creative community once a month. And so we have like an hour session of people that come back every month that I've been working with for like 18 months. And I'm like the linchpin that's just helping them with that frame. Because also a lot of creatives have been in maybe creative agencies and they come out and do it themselves. And actually that's a real, like a creative coming out of a creative agency is really tough, because you may not have, the corporate background has never been there, because it's always been with someone else on the team. So that muscle's never been built. So they wouldn't even know to outsource it. They wouldn't even know what they're outsourcing. So it's just helping people to work through that thought process, giving them a little bit of a structure, not too much because they run away, just a little bit, some frameworks, I like to say, and then allow them to really step into that and shape it in the way they want. And then sometimes, like all of us, if we don't want to follow that path, then something goes wrong and they're like, okay, really, maybe I should do that now. But it's given, that unconditional positive regard as we have as coaches, and helping people to the point at which they want to be helped and supported.
And how do you pick your own coaches?
Oh, do you know what? It's so, because okay, tell you a secret.
Mentors,
I'll tell you a secret. Like in coaching, what we're taught is that it doesn't matter who the coach is. They don't have to have the same experience and background as you, because if they are trained, then you should be able to, they will ask you the same question. And it's not about the coach, it's about you. It's about the questions they ask you, and it's about how you can like open up yourself to get to the answers within yourself. Okay. That is what they tell you. My truth is, I'm not saying it's the truth, I'm saying it's my truth, is that energy is really important to me. Okay.
Preaching to be converted.
Energy is really important to me. And I was talking about this today with my team in regards to, you could have like pitch perfect, same CV, exactly the same. But if I meet you and our energy is not magnetizing towards each other, then it's a no for me. If I see you operating, I like to see people in their environment. I like to see them like on socials. But like seeing what their energy looks like, but I like to meet them as well to see like, actually, is that someone that I could get on with? I want my coach to be someone that I would actually go for a meal with afterwards. I don't want it to be so clinical. Okay, maybe if I wanted a psychiatrist, then I'd want like, but like as a coach or as a mentor, likability is really important to me. So on the complete opposite side of what I was saying to you before in regards to reverse mentoring and finding difference, I don't want difference with my coach necessarily. There is in general with my coaches, I want them to have trodden a path similar to me to get me to understand me. And I feel like that energy makes me feel safer. So it's about safety for me, like with this psychological safety.
Bit of sameness.
Yeah, a bit of sameness, but it's psychological safety. People feel psychologically safe with people who are more similar to them because it's like I said, the guard comes down. However, there are some parts of my business which I'm not amazing at. So sales is not one of my strong points. And therefore, finding someone who's similar to me in that space is not going to be helpful for me. So I have a sales coach who makes me feel very uncomfortable. Okay. And we know that on the edge of our comfort zone is growth. And so you have to have a deep level of self-awareness to know and recognize where you may actually be picking the coaches because they are similar to you and they make you feel really comfortable. But actually they're not stretching you and pushing you because you really like each other. And it's not as, in coaching, you've got non-directive and directive, and it's not as stretching as it could be because you're just very comfortable in that space. And actually, maybe you just want to tick off a box to say, I've got a coach, and like, yeah, we're moving along nicely. But actually, if you really want to excel and push yourself, like for me, my thing is my Achilles heel is sales, like that uncomfortability, which is why when you started with the referrals piece, that's part of the stuff that my coach has been working me on.
Maybe it was part of your your weakness because now you're working on it. And that's just, we all have our strengths and weaknesses and things that come naturally and other things that we just outsource. And we don't have to be doing everything and anything, which is, I think, the challenge. I don't know if it was you or someone else commenting today that as entrepreneurs, you always assume that you have to be doing everything yourself. And that's just crazy.
Yeah, it is. But I think that it is helpful. So some things I have tried to outsource and it has gone spectacularly wrong. And so I would say 3 years in now, I have a much better gauge in terms of the questions to ask and what my expectations are with people that I hire to do things. I think what is really challenging in our world as an entrepreneur is that when people say they're going to do things, they may not necessarily do it in the way and the standard that we expect, even if they've done it amazingly for someone else. Someone else's standards, your standards are different. In corporate, it's very much easier to manage people because there's a job description, there's a role profile, you know exactly what you need to do. I found anyway, that was my difference. But in the entrepreneurial side, I found it really difficult to find people that deliver on what they say they're going to deliver on, in my viewpoint and experience, because the level at which I worked at, I've worked for the UK's best brands. And so the people that are in those organizations are incredible. And so coming out and work, that's been a really big challenge for me. I've spent invested a lot of money on things that didn't quite work.
Oh, well, that's how we learn, I guess. And so are you going off energy now? Is that one of the criteria? Because it is for me.
Yeah, it is a criteria, but I start off being people, I even did this at work. So people, once they get to know me, realize actually what a softie I am. But on the whole, I start off, I'm firm but fair. And I think with business, that's the way that I work, especially when this is now my money, right? My money, and most importantly, my reputation, which I cannot get back if I lose it. So it's, first of all, it's hard and fast facts. And it's like actually delivery and give me some examples of, and then we work through, right, actually, that's the first hurdle. And then it's like, actually, could we vibe together? Could I have lunch, dinner with you? As part of my team, we need to be able to get on. I don't want people who aren't emotion, and it's about emotion, right? Because if people aren't emotionally attached to you or to each other or as a team, when we're building a business, we need to have a sense of belonging. What is going to bring belonging? People who actually really care that you have got great energy with, that feel safe to challenge you, that you feel safe being challenged by, and you recognize that the end goal is for us to make this business the best in the world.
Yeah. I have a feeling you probably picked me off based on energy, because that's why when we met at that event, I knew immediately that we were going to get along. But look, we're almost at the end of the episode. And as I said, we both love to talk and we get to go on forever. But I always like to ask a question at the end, which is, what's ahead for you? Have you ever been tempted to maybe go back to corporate? Where do you hope that this year leads you? What's the ideal outcome, I guess? Because you're experimenting with a few things now. What's
The close of the year or the start of the year? Like, so we're closing out, or we're saying what's going to happen in the future?
Well, I think what you would like to happen.
What would I like to have? Well,
yeah. Where do you see
where
the
do I
vision? Vision 2026 or whatever it is.
I'm actually doing that.
I'm
actually doing that this weekend.
Yeah, there you go.
So I would say that, am I tempted to go back into corporate? I have been, and being transparent, I was interviewing and having conversations to go back in the summer.
Yeah.
And I decided that I would like to keep my toes in from a fractional perspective. So this is, I'm manifesting this to happen for an incredible organization. And the reason behind that is I miss having really big teams, and I miss having the impact on like larger, big, I've dealt with some really big things, and I'm missing that part of me. But I also love what I do. I am absolutely in my purpose. I know every day when I wake up, I'm doing God's work and I'm doing what I'm called to do. So this is something that remains true to me. And literally every day, every week, I'm checking, like, am I still doing the thing that you want me to do? Because this whole path is for me to use my gifts and live out the way that He intends me to live out. And so for 2026, actually one of the things that I have to focus on is surrendering more, because I'm a bit of a control freak. And in this world of entrepreneurialism, that's really hard to maintain, and it really gives you anxiety. So the surrender, but most importantly, like living and embracing and enjoying the chapter that I'm in without stressing about the future chapters to come. Because the gift is in the moment, the gift is in the time. And whilst I preach it, I don't practice it as much as I should do. So my intention for 2026 is to live in that moment, enjoy it more, because like this life is pretty incredible. And I really want to look back at this time and remember the amazing moments, and know that I was very present for them, and I wasn't like thinking about the future too much, but I was very much rooted in the now.
Wonderful. Well, as they say, tomorrow never comes. It's always today.
Always about today.
But I think that's probably the best place to end it on, because I think you've summarized it quite well, that you can make all the business plans that you want, and you can have logic, and you can make schedules. But ultimately,
so good at that.
If your energy is not in the right place, if you're not feeling it, if you're not having fun with whatever it is that you're doing, and as you said, if you're not feeling like you're serving a purpose, and you certainly seem to have found your calling and your mission, then what's the point of it all? So thank you very much for reminding everyone who was listening how important that is. I'll put more information in the links in the show notes so that you can find out how to connect with Patrice, maybe get a copy of her book. And thank you very much for listening. We'll have a very exciting guest next week. This is the last episode for the year, but there's a few exciting events that are coming up in January in London. Again, you can find more information in the links below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.